Thanks for clicking on part 2 of my Vipassana review. I hope this video helps you with your 10-day course. So I think the course itself is really well structured. Everything involved felt well thought out and purposeful. There was nothing excessive. There was nothing lacking. I honestly thought it was a really fundamentally well structured, well prepared course. Everything in the course is designed to give you the best possible opportunity to integrate the practice, the technique in your daily life, so that you can feel the benefits even when you're not being silent for 10 days. I think there's throughout the 10 days you get these little nuggets of insights and understanding of why the course is structured, how it's structured, why there's certain rules and how that helps you with the meditation. I think, it's really worth sticking out the full 10 days. For me, the first couple of days and the last couple of days were the hardest, but by persevering, I felt like I unlocked a lot of benefits on that very last day. I felt like I got to a point at day 9 where I was just kind of like, cool, I've probably learned all I'm gonna have to learn by now. If I went home, I'm not gonna go home, but if I went home now, it probably wouldn't make a big difference. And then day 10 came around and there was all sorts of, there was something that I learned, or that sort of the penny dropped, where everything wrapped up really nicely, tied the whole experience together, and it made even more sense, even more impact, felt even more profound. So do the whole 10 days. You never know what's gonna happen, where you're gonna get these little blessings. The evening discourses were really, really fun, really, really excellent. I think everybody was looking forward to just sitting down and not meditating and watching Goenka do his service or whatever. He was so funny. He was really entertaining, really insightful, and I hate to have to say it, but not culty at all. Never in the whole 10 day, ever, not before, not during, not after, did I ever feel manipulated or pressured or felt like I was being indoctrinated. All of it's so sort of open and easy. It's just being serious and being dedicated to those 10 days, because you're never going to you might not ever do it again. So when you're in the 10 days, it's about making the most of it for those 10 days. And then afterwards, it's totally up to you. So I felt that he was very rational. What he had to say was very balanced, not manipulative at all, and honestly very very sympathetic to normal day-to-day life, for someone who goes around the world or went around the world teaching people to meditate. It's good to have relatability to the average person. The facility to do ride shares is a great idea. I drove this girl, Natasha, to and from the course. It was so nice to chat with someone who was about to embark on the 10 days of silence with me. Before that, I'd barred 2 or 3 people who I'd spoken to who had already done the course before. The conversations with my friends and my colleagues was pretty much the same. It was kind of oh my gosh, why are you doing that? Or 10 days, I couldn't go 10 days silent, and this, that and the other, or I don't know, it was just really refreshing to speak to someone who kind of got it and shared some of the same excitement, or just had a refreshing perspective on the course. Also, getting to know her, we had a crazy amount of similarities and things in common. It's really nice when you meet people in a certain time of your life and you're just kind of in the same place in your life at the same time. It felt like we were meant to meet and drive to the course together. I don't know, it was just super nice. Speaking of right place and right time, there was someone else on the course who I met who we later discovered that we'd already met before, like 10 years ago, nearly. And we have a friend in common, which is just, I mean, so random and wild and cool. I just felt like I had to share that. So after arriving at the centre, depending on how early you get there, you might have some time to chat with the other students before you start the silence. I managed to speak to a few people very briefly, but didn't get super in depth with anyone. And I'm kind of glad that I didn't, because I feel like it would have been distracting in the meditations. I might be thinking like, and there were some things that I was thinking of, like this woman that I did chat to. I remember thinking, oh, I really like her earrings. She had like, I think they were like wooden earrings of the African continent. And then I thought about them in my meditation. So even like tiny little things that you don't really like clock, they can be distractions when your mind does not want to do as it's told. One thing I was surprised by was that throughout the whole 10 days, I didn't feel lonely at all, even though I hadn't really been able to, I hadn't been able to speak to anyone apart from the teachers. Yeah, it just felt like we were all doing this course together. You could see people being sort of like, being kind, or at least, at the very least, like conscientious. Like everyone was really respectful of one another, which made it almost feel like, that we were a team or a unit, or just kind of like being there together. It was, I'm not quite sure if I'm getting across what I mean very well, but it was a really nice thing to have gone through with these people, and after 10 days you kind of like somehow feel connected to them all. The students there were also like really, really diverse, like all ages, all backgrounds, from all over the world, all sorts of ethnicities. It was really refreshing and interesting and inspiring to hear everybody's stories and where they come from, and why they came to do the course. I must admit, after talking for a couple of hours, and after being silent for 10 days, the chatter in the lunchroom was really like overwhelming. I had to actually like have a time out for myself and like go, I don't know, like brush my teeth in the quiet bathroom or something. I just had to sit alone for a while because I was getting a bit like nauseous, which is so weird. Like almost like having a mini panic attack felt like it was coming up. But it just goes to show how sensitive I am to external stimuli, because I know I am, but it was just surprising to me at the time. And also getting to know your roommates who you've been sharing a room with for over a week. It was so wild. It was so nice. So nice to just chat and talk about the things that had happened like in the dorm that we'd not been able to talk about. It was just really, really silly and fun. In my dorm, there were 2 other students. I think generally there was like an average of 5 people, or at least 5 beds per room. So that's what you can expect if you go to the Suffolk Dhamma Sukhakāri. Yeah. That's what you can expect if you go to the centre in Suffolk. I recommend everyone take an eye mask, just because you don't know if like someone's going to be like changing or going to the shower or whatever, or like want to open the curtains. If you're wanting to sleep, like eye mask is a must. And if you are a light sleeper, I probably suggest taking earplugs as well. Everyone's generally really respectful, and you're not allowed to talk anyway, but if you're having a nap after breakfast, say, and like people are rushing around trying to wash their clothes or having showers or whatever, like that can stop you from sleeping. The centre and the grounds were really well maintained, clean, comfortable. The showers were great. The cushions and blankets that they provided were like really, really helpful and comfortable. I would recommend that if you're a woman though, because just bring your own if you have some at home as well, extra, because us ladies like to be comfy, and all of those cushions and blankets were used up by day 3. Like there were no spares. I'd look over to the men's side and they'd have like stacks and stacks of their cushions still there, just like being unused. I'm really glad that I went in summer. It only rained once during the 10 days, and that was for maybe like half an hour during a meditation as well. So we actually never saw any rain. And what that meant was that at break times we were able to make use of the grounds, the really nice walking paths, or like sit and stare out into the pond and entertain ourselves with the little bees or pheasants roaming around. But because it was really warm, the windows did get left open in the dormitories. So I would say that if you don't like spiders, you're forewarned because they do come inside and they are big. Also, because it was summer, I brought sandals, luckily, and I am so glad I had some slip-on shoes, because there's so much like taking shoes off, putting your shoes on again. You can't wear your shoes inside the meditation hall, and you can't wear them in the dormitories. So yeah, slippers definitely, but like slip-on shoes for outdoor wear, I would highly recommend bringing those. The food was really tasty and nutritious, and even without dinner, I did not go hungry one day at all. Yeah, we were really well fed. At the end where you can sign up to do the voluntary cleaning, I put my name down for the kitchen. I love cleaning a kitchen, so it was not hard work at all. But it really got me thinking about the time that I spent there, the time that the previous students took to prepare the facilities for us, and then also the next students who were coming along, and all the amazing like experiences and benefits they were going to reap from their 10 days there. So yeah, it made me quite felt really sentimental about the whole experience and how it's set up so that it's gifting or passing on the goodness that we can all lock within ourselves. But no, jokes aside, like it really made me also consider seriously going back next year to volunteer in the kitchens, because I would love to be a part of that feeding, nourishing side after a hard morning of meditation. There are very few negatives about the whole experience, and very few of them are to do with the actual course. The only thing really that I could think of was like moving the lunchtime a little bit further, because after breakfast, so you have breakfast, you have a break, and then you have another meditation, maybe for like an hour or 2 hours. I just wasn't hungry by the time it was lunchtime. But that was also kind of great because I didn't eat as much, but it made my meditations way more focused, because I wasn't being distracted with all the sort of like gurgling that my stomach would make after a meal. And because we weren't really moving around much at all, it didn't really have much of an appetite anyway, so yeah, it didn't make much of a difference. I didn't miss dinner at the end of the day. You're allowed 2 pieces of fruit, and I sometimes just went without. Like I had a cup of tea, or I'd have like an orange. Yeah, it was so fine. One weird thing post-meditation to do with food, also food and drink, is that I like, because you're in the meditations, like, I would limit the amount of water that I was drinking because I didn't want to have to get up in a meditation and go to the toilet. However, I was not dehydrated. Like, I didn't feel dehydrated at all. And since I've come home, I'm also not drinking as much as I used to, but I still don't feel dehydrated. I don't know if that is a thing. I don't know. Maybe I was drinking way too much water to begin with. But does that make sense to anyone? Has that happened to you? Tell me, please. Tell me below. Just to be safe, I would bring some dish soap and a sponge to clean my water bottle with next time. I would pack that as well. Before you go, I would highly recommend making sure that you're like well rested and healthy. And I say this because there were a lot of people on the course who, I don't know if they were like actually sick or had allergies, but there was a lot of coughing and sneezing and bunged up people on the course, and I felt so bad for them because honestly, like, forget about distracting anyone else, like the other students, with all that stuff. But if that's you in a meditation and what you have to focus on is breathing in and out through your nose, and you can't do that, like, I cannot imagine anything more torturous than to have to do that 12 hours a day for 10 days with a cold or like issues with your sinuses. Like, just save yourself. So you know, a lot of people have such like high stress or high pressure jobs where they're like pretty much always running on adrenaline, right? And then once you book a holiday, you give yourself like a few days to relax, and then bang, like this sickness gets you because you've actually like stopped to let it affect you rather than just like powering through it. So yeah, I would make sure, and I think that's maybe what happened with a few people. So just make sure that you're like in the best health possible. I know you can't plan these things, but you know, for example, if you know that you have bad hay fever, maybe don't go in the summer. If you know that you're prone to getting colds and flus during the winter, maybe go at a warmer time of the year. Yeah, that's one tip. Also bring plenty changes of clothes, especially if you are living somewhere in the UK where the weather is like all over the place. I packed too warmly because I didn't think it was gonna actually be like, we don't have summer really. I didn't think it was gonna be warm as it was, basically, and I had to wash loads of my sweaty tops, where I thought I would just probably wear the same thing for a couple of days, if I'm gonna be honest. Yeah, and they do have clothes washing facilities, but they, to my surprise, were like very frequently used. Like, yeah, people were just already washing their clothes on day one, for some reason. And for the clothes that you do bring, try and make, this is more of like a personal thing. Well, no, it is a rule. For the clothes that you do bring, if you can, try and bring the most plainest clothes possible. Some people can't do it, you know? Some people just don't have those sorts of wardrobes, right? That is fine. Don't buy anything new just for these 10 days. But where you can, like, don't wear bright patterned clothes or complicated designs. It's like, for me personally, and this might be just a me thing, so feel free to ignore, but I found the clothes that people were wearing, if they weren't just like, you know, plain block coloured tops, really distracting, and probably like in a nice way, like, oh my god, that's so beautiful, like, I wonder where that she got that from, or oh, that's an unusual colour, or like whatever it was. But that's not what you're meant to be thinking about. Yeah, I just found it really distracting. So at least for me, I feel like the whole experience should be similar to sort of like a sensory deprivation tank, I guess, where you're just like completely in yourself, you're not thinking about external stimuli, and you're just looking inwards. But I found it really hard. I noticed that I found it really hard to do that with people who just looked really cool. The last big tip is, if you hate spiders and other insects, as I do, yeah, maybe go in winter. Maybe summer's not the one. And if you do go in summer, because it is gorgeous, when it's nice, it's really nice. If you do go in summer, just use it as an opportunity to face your fears. So that was a really long video. Thanks if you made it this far. But above all else, if there's one thing I want for you to take away, is don't add like pressure to an already unusual, unfamiliar experience. Just have fun with it. Don't take it too seriously. I mean, take it seriously in the sense that, you know, you're there for 10 days to do a task. The task is to learn this technique and go home knowing how to do this technique. And if at the time you are like really struggling and all that you're concentrating on is that you're like angry at yourself for not being able to do it in a certain way, like you've already missed the point. I think out of the 12 hours of meditation a day, I managed to get a solid 2.5 to 3 hours of meditation. Good, like in the zone, focus on what I'm meant to be focusing on, meditation, done. And the rest of the time, like I said, I was like thinking about all that stuff from my childhood. I was daydreaming. I was thinking about nothing and everything at the same time. But when I was doing that, what I feel was really helpful, and I don't know if this is right or wrong. Maybe some of the teachers watch this and they're like, oh my God, that's so stupid. Don't listen to this girl. But what happened to me was I was just laughing about the stuff in my head that I was thinking about and just like taking it really easy, like, oh, stupid me. And not putting like any negative connotations on what I was thinking or feeling, because that like sucks the fun out of it. And why would you want to do it again if it's not fun anymore? Like, you don't want to do things because they're stressful or, you know, without benefit. So yeah, be lighthearted about it. And if you go home and you don't do it as you know, the prescribed 2 hours a day, then that's fine too. Like, just find time when you can, and then maybe eventually, at least if you're taking a little small step and you do maybe like 15 minutes a day, and then that can grow to half an hour and so on and so forth. But yeah, it's you can just say to yourself, like, you know, today wasn't the day, or this wasn't the sitting, I'll do better next time. I'm trying to do better now, and that's good enough. Yeah. Okay, this has already been too long. Bye.